very much. First of all, I want to say, I think Senator Hyde-Smith mentioned this about rural areas and the funding and in the Raise Infra Rural and mega grant programs. So anything I want to say is that we've been trying to, and I'm trying to get this, and all of us come from rural states. 20% of the population of America lives in rural America, classified, 66 million people. And I guarantee you, we get less than single digits when all the funding comes from federal. I don't think it's directed or intentionally. It just happens because there's so much scale of economies in larger areas. But we're trying to make sure, so in a situation such as this, the $5.2 billion, $1 billion of that should have been designated for rural areas to get us appropriate share. And I think if you look, it didn't happen that way. Very large cities got most of it, but I want to bring that to your attention because we're trying to pass an overall piece of sweeping legislation that says the 20%. So anything you can do to maybe bring your staff up to speed on looking at that when we disperse monies out into rural areas would be very, very helpful. On the funding for alternative fuel refueling stations, what we're concerned about there, there's more than just EV charging stations that we're concerned about. I'm concerned about the horsepower that it takes to run the big trucks, that runs the things that we need, and that's going to be hydrogen as we transition. And I hope that you're looking at that as aggressively as you are the EVs that we're moving very rapidly in, and it's going to be needed for us to meet the demands because EVs will not carry the trucks and the big heavy loads that we need, and also on our trains and things of that sort. And I don't know if you all have looked at it differently than that.
Sure, yeah, we share your interest in hydrogen. One thing I would note is that while the NEVI program with the states is focused on EV infrastructure, the $2.5 billion charging fuel infrastructure program includes hydrogen as an eligible use.
I think you're going to push that yourself a little bit, sir. Take the lead on that, because if not, it might lag behind because of the over-anxious desire to get EVs out the door quicker than...
We certainly recognize for trucks. Also, I would note for buses, there's a lot of interest.
Yeah, you know, this technology, go back to the 90s. We had a hydrogen fueling station in West Virginia back in the 90s, but it didn't get the support it needed, so it went nowhere. We've never matured that industry. We're determined to get it done this time. If I could go to the rail situation, we had a disaster in 2015, but up until that, we've had the electronic control pneumatic brakes. I think you and I have talked about it briefly. That was started back, 9 years, started in 2006. It had gone through all the testing and everything. About 2015, we thought we had it. Then we had the wreck in West Virginia with carrying the Balkan. And now, then it was kind of put on the sidelines through the 2016, 2020 period. So only thing I would say, the technology exists. It's been successfully filled, tested, and we think that it would have been very helpful in preventing some of these horrific train accidents. So anything I would like for you all, and hopefully you would commit to have the Federal Railroad Administration to revisit the ECP brake system.
Well, thank you for that, and we are interested in the ECP brake opportunities. As you know, the FAST Act constrains us to some extent in our ability to apply it, but I've directed our team to look at everything we can do within those constraints, and also would welcome partnering with Congress to loosen those constraints. I will note, now that positive train control is fully deployed, there would need to be some steps to make sure that we get the right compatibility between PTC and ECP, but I certainly continue to view this as a potentially very important safety.
If you can keep up us to speed, basically on the technology and what changes have been made, and if they are adaptable, it would be very helpful on that, and hopefully we can expedite that. Pilot shortage, okay? Especially, we're affected more in rural areas than most because of my pilot shortage, we're the first routes to get cut because of economics. The 65, as a pilot myself, way above the 67 age, we're still able to fly. We can still make pretty good decisions to keep our lives, if you will, and those of who are entrusted in it. I don't know, I would hope that you all would consider the 65 to 67 age increasement. It would be very helpful for us to meet the challenges we have all over America, especially in rural America.
Well, as you know, that's set statutorily, and it conforms to the ICAO level of 65, and so any variance from that could create international issues, but always looking primarily to the data, and would want to see any kind of data that could inform any measure related to the future pilot workforce. We can't and won't do anything that could compromise safety, but are interested in anything and everything that we could do that meets that test, including encouraging and helping more people get started as pilots.
We have a bill with Senator Graham that we think might help you a little bit, so we're gonna try to pursue that one, and hopefully you all take a good look at it and see what you think. Finally, hold on, we have one here on hydrogen. What has been included in the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration spending plan to address my concerns about the safety and blending of hydrogen into existing older pipelines? Also, you know, the jurisdictional situation that we have with transmission and pipelines, we've been contemplating putting under one roof. And I know how staffs may be territorial on this, but we're thinking with FERC, where we've had all of our pipelines and transmission, we're looking at that for a new permitting bill. Really want your input on that to help we can do that and basically synchronize this better.
We'll
Safety on pipelines first, if you can, and hit that.
Sure, yeah, we
I'm
got
so sorry, Senator.
$228.2 million assigned for pipeline safety. That includes operations, R&D on things like leak detection, and grants to states. Because
Right.
we know how important those can be. On the structural matter, we would defer to Congress, but happy to work with you on that.
Okay, but on the pipelines, the type of, I'm told we have a lot of pipelines in existing right now. Also, that it can carry certain amounts, up to 20% of hydrogen right now, the same pipelines. Some of the pipelines can be basically retrofitted, what we call sleeved, if you will, a new pipeline inside that. As we transition into more hydrogen, we're going to need help from you all right now and support. If we can use the existing right-of-ways that doesn't have to go through all the environmental considerations, that basically that pipeline is already there, why can't we repurpose it for the same purpose that we have now as we transition to other fuels?
I see.
So hopefully you all will be looking at that for us. Thank you, Secretary, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, you've been so kind.
No problem, Senator Manchin. I just have two final questions. We provided some seed money to begin the planning process for ARPA-I, and the President's budget is requesting $19 million for the next phase.